Hi there, welcome. My name is Sarah Martin, and I am the quitting coach, creating these episodes and sharing my experience of quitting many self destructive habits and beliefs and behaviors that have allowed me to really continue to create my dream life. Most recently, quitting my soul sucking corporate job. I worked in corporate human resources for 25 years, and I really enjoyed that because, I think that one of my gifts and pleasures in life is helping other people, right? So there were so many times I was able to help people in a human resources role. I loved the part of, training and helping people prepare for interviews and watch them get promoted. And, give me any good makeover show and I am all in. So that's really my passion in this world. And because I was able to give myself an extreme makeover, really. It certainly was not, a quick journey for me. I just kind of keep up leveling, which is this work that, I'm here to share. And, we talked about law of attraction, and that's really the path that I share with people as a way to do the inner work and, first find out, well, what is it that I even want, right? I work with so many people who have, rang all the bells in life and done all the things and got the degree and got the job and had the kids, excuse me, got the relationship, or maybe didn't do any of that and is still like, I just don't even know what I want, right? Because we stay so busy that we don't take the time to get quiet enough to say, what does my heart really want, right? And we've been conditioned on what we should want, right? And then when we get that, right, we do what our parents told us, or we do what our peers have been doing. We just look outside of ourselves for what we should be doing, right? So maybe I went to engineering school because that's what my parents wanted for me, but inside I'm an artist, right? I'm a painter, and I feel dead inside every day I go to my engineering job, right? This happens to so many of us. And that's why, there's lots of, they call it midlife crisis. And, crisis actually is a time for change. So if you're feeling like you're in a crisis, do not be alarmed. That just means you're on a precipice for change. So I can feel like I'm in crisis an awful lot because I, am focusing on what's my next right action to become more and more aligned as I keep evolving. So this is what I want to share with as many people as I can, helping people just to feel their best selves, right? We talked about law of attraction and vibration, right? Of being, keeping a high vibration in and around our bodies keeps bringing in higher vibrational things, whether it's more money, whether it's better relationships, whether it's more high vibrational people. Things will start changing as you start doing your internal work. It's really amazing. It can be really fun to play with too. I do say it is kind of the Western way, the Eastern way. Sorry, I always mix those up. The United States kind of way into a spiritual path of kind of like, okay, what am I going to get out of this, right? To play with, an end result. And again, it's kind of a backwards way to say, okay, but, the end result that I'm looking for, right? If I'm looking for, an abundance of finances, I'm probably more looking just for freedom, right? I'm probably looking for freedom within myself. So with law of attraction, we start practicing what we want that end result to be. And then the amazing thing that happens typically is that end result, when you stop caring as much because you're doing all these practices and you feel good inside, it's kind of like, well, I don't really care if I lose the weight, or I don't really care if I find the partner, or I don't really care if the money is there. And, there's this other really beautiful and confusing part of law of attraction that is that moment when you let go, when you're not attached to it, that the money drops in, that the partner drops in, that the dream job drops in. So there's a lot of nuances with law of attraction, right? It can sound so easy. It's like, oh, just stay high vibration and all these high vibrational things, drop in. Well, we all know that, that's probably not really the way that we're wired, right? We were taught to, achieve and get the grades and wear the right clothes and drive the right car and date the right person. And so much of that can really just lock in failure for us, right? And these limiting beliefs, which is what I want to talk about today. So I first wanted to practice, and I'm wondering if you played last week with the hand on the heart and the hand on the belly. So let's go ahead and do that before we get too much deeper into conversation. Again, if you're able to close your eyes, just closing the eyes, feeling the breath pass the hand on the heart into the belly. Softening and then exhaling, letting go of the stress of the day, anything you're holding on to, maybe bringing in that feeling of, I am safe. Exhaling out. Inhaling in, I am safe, softening. And releasing anything other than safety and calm, just committing to yourself to be present the next 20 minutes or so. Just learning about yourself and some tips and tools that can help continue to calm your nervous system and start changing the way that you're thinking of yourself, right? So if you've been doing this practice of getting a little more quiet, you might become even more aware of some of the insanity that's going on in your head. This inner critic, right? That I call mine Judge Judy, by the way. We can, we'll probably inspect Eckhart Tolle's work of the pain body and some of the things that have been wired into us as kind of a memorization of these stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves. Right? And so many of them are negative. So many of them are these ways that we're not measuring up, right? Especially if we're the artist that's going to the engineering job, right? It's like, as I continue to do this work, as I really understood how highly sensitive I was, and how much I care about justice and equity and people taking care of people, my job at a corporate grocery store that paid minimum wage while the CEOs and the vice presidents lined their pockets with hundreds of thousands of dollars in bonuses, while the people doing the work could barely keep the lights on, that started to feel really gross in my body, right? I was not aligned with that at all. So these are the things to start paying attention to, and the things that as you start to do this work, as you start to work on your own vibration, you might start noticing that there are changes that need to be made, right? And that if you're here looking to quit, some of the habits or behaviors like binge eating or drinking or smoking cigarettes, or again, just really self-loathing and critical behavior, we may need to start looking at, okay, well, what's not aligned in my life, right? That will start showing up, and I'll share some of my journey about that and what started to happen in my corporate job, when I started this work. So again, it can be really fun. I really thought I was going to have to leave my corporate job 10 years ago. I might as well share the story now. So I thought that I was going to leave, when I started to feel like, this doesn't feel good, right? We had somebody that was in charge of human resources, and she was a bully, right? So this is another thing that you will notice, that there's patterns in your life that are up to be healed, that are up for you to do the work around and start changing your belief systems and doing the inner work, which is what I help people do, so that these patterns don't keep showing up. Right. So for me, bullying, people that showed up in my life very early on in my childhood as a chubby little kid. And again, growing up in a verbally abusive household, I'm highly sensitive to a lot of that. So again, and you'll see a lot of it in the corporate world too. But again, I was just like, I can't be here when I'm not aligned with what's going on. And shortly after that, she got fired. She got fired, and this man came in and told everyone to take their ties off. And, this is when I was meditating every day. I was practicing how I wanted to feel, in my body. Again, I was focused on losing weight and how I wanted to feel, but that encompassed how I wanted to feel at work. And I just wanted to feel free and helpful and light and vibrant. So again, this spilled over to what started happening in my external world. It was really pretty neat. So that really helped me be able to hang in there longer, maybe longer than I should have, but I also started to get chosen for these higher vibrational jobs, right? I got chosen for this continuous improvement project where I went out and listened to the people at store level on changes that they wanted to make, and they formed teams around it, and they got to present projects, and there was rewards at the end of it. I was put on a project for a couple years to help a brand transition, which included all the stuff that I loved, which was hiring and training and all the more higher vibrational things, until COVID hit. And then that was the reality check I needed to be like, oh yeah, this job is not for you anymore. But I'm sharing this to tell you that this stuff works, right? That you will notice changes, and they might be real subtle in the beginning, but as you start to work on it, which again can just start with that hand on the heart and the hand on the belly, and maybe 5 minutes of quiet in the morning, or maybe as you transition to home, or just watching what's going on in your brain and starting to work with that and shift that a little bit, you could start seeing these shifts in your life as well. So I want to talk about limiting beliefs today, right? So as we get quieter and we start watching this monkey mind, that, again, there's a place for it, right? It's not resisting the crazy stories that are going on. It's observing and saying, oh, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. You're trying to keep me safe, right? You're trying to keep me safe here, and I understand that. So, in my limiting beliefs, as I was on the weight loss journey and the, dropping the binge eating journey, that eventually became dropping drinking as well, because, I shared in an earlier episode that as I would meditate and want to try on this strong, fit, healthy body, I would hear from somewhere else, you need to stop drinking, right? Because the two of them were going hand in hand. I would, drink to take the edge off of, not coming into my body all day, because I was helping people, at the job, and I had small kids, and I was running here and running there, and I was not present with myself at all. And, then would come home, anesthetize myself, take the edge off with the wine, and that just, opened the door for the binge eating. So they were definitely partnered there. And, in looking at some of the thoughts behind that, right, there was a lot of self-loathing. I didn't understand self-love. I was going to be happy when, right? So many of us have this destination that we're going to be okay when I weigh this certain amount, when I only drink on weekends, when I get the partner, when I get promoted, all of this stuff. And that's not the way that it works, right? Because there's always going to be something coming at us, right? And I'm here to say, I did quit drinking. I did quit the cigarettes. I, have invited in, heart-centered partners. I have done it all. I am at my ideal weight, right? But there's still things in the world like pandemics, threats of World War III, kids going off to college, the car breaking down, right? There's always going to be something circling around us, regardless, right? So can I maintain a level, again, and I'll share my views on happiness also as a little bit of trickery, right? As just another way to tell us we're failing because we are sold this bag of goods that we're supposed to be happy 24/7, right? And if you're not, drink that beer, buy the jeans, get the partner, take the, prescription drug, whatever it is, so that you can be happy. And then we're just let down again, because if there is a level of happiness, it is temporary, right? So one of my favorite life coaches, Brooke Castile, will share this concept of aliveness. And I can't remember if it originated with her or not, but what if we were just going for feeling alive, right? Which might be that we felt our grief so deeply today that by the time we were done with our ugly cry and feeling the sadness to the depths of our soul, there was a lightness that came, right? That if I give myself permission to feel the actual feelings, the grief, the sadness, the anger, if I have the scream in the car for being angry, at what my kid did, the call from the school that I got, if I freak out in the car on the way home and let the anger out, maybe I walk in the door a little more calmly to ask the questions to understand what happened at school instead of coming at this kid that shuts down any conversation, right? So there's this aliveness happening as opposed to a striving to be happy. So really playing with that as part of this. And, that's one of the limiting beliefs that I want to call out, right? So as you're quieting down, as you're a little more aware of staying on the hamster wheel, of hopefully maybe starting to give yourself more permission to have the cup of tea and just stare out the window for 5 minutes, to take a walk around the block if you're working from home, to feel the emotions as you start to be more aware. What are these belief systems that, I think that have been there to try to keep me safe, to try to keep me striving, to try to get me to that moment where I get to ride the pink cloud of elation, that's a limiting belief. Can I change that to oh, everything is actually really good right here, right now, right? Right? And what can be really, really helpful in coupling the awareness of our limiting beliefs is gratitude, right? Gratitude and perspective that I have a roof over my head, I'm in a healthy body or a healing body. You may be dealing with something, but one of the highest vibrational feelings we can work towards is gratitude, right? So as an example in that, rage with the call from the school with a child, right? Of not bypassing to get to the gratitude, right? Let the anger out, let the real feeling come up, which can be difficult if you're at work or, you're not in the car to rage and scream. This is a practice, but to notice what it feels like in your body, allow it to come up. If you are in a place where you can express it, express how anger, that was humiliating. I can't believe you did that to me. Let that process and then start sinking in, whatever the case might be, right? Your kid is healthy, safe, and strong right now, and maybe exercising some of their free will, or maybe this is going to provide an opportunity for a deeper conversation of, do they need therapy? What's really going on at the heart of whatever the behavior was, right? Because when you're starting to do this for yourself, you have a deeper understanding of other people, right? So this is the real beauty of starting to watch your own limiting beliefs and your own self-hatred or loathing or judgment, and starting to sit with that and being like, you know what? Everyone around me has it too, right? Everyone around me has it too. So that when somebody's lashing out for me, I can be like, oh my gosh, that's their fear. That's their fear, right? That was their fear. So it gives you a deeper understanding. So, just starting to watch what limiting beliefs are ruling your world, right? So for me, in the weight loss and the drinking journey, the weight loss piece was, I needed to look a certain way to be loved, really, right? That was at the root of it. And the true story was, until I loved me and accepted me, and again, this is a daily commitment, this is daily work, this is not somewhere you arrive, but it's all relative, right? To go from just really rejecting myself and not even wanting to sit for 5 minutes with myself because I was scared of what would come up, but of being okay with me even when I'm not okay, right? Even on my low days, to say, oh yeah, today's a heavy day, and just to be okay with that, and remembering that tomorrow's another one, right? And not making it the end of the world, and not merging with it, right? And being okay even when my unhealthy behaviors might show back up, and just to say, okay, none of this is permanent, right? So that might be a limiting belief that can take you down to, of just that, the permanence that things can feel like, right? Like that call from the school of, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. And again, that rabbit hole of negative thinking of, having your kid, also alone and homeless within a minute of, getting in a fight in school. And, if that's where you are and you show up back home blocked, you don't get to go in and understand that maybe your kid was sticking up for somebody. And maybe there is this anger that's been repressed that came out in a way that shouldn't have come out, but you're in a better space to find out. So it's this self-inquiry that can really be helpful for you as well. There's this work by Byron Katie. So when you start noticing these thoughts, and again, for me with the drinking and giving it up, my limiting belief around that was like, I would have no friends. I would have no friends. I would not be cool. I'd be irrelevant. I just didn't even know how to socialize without alcohol. It was scary. I still struggle with it, 7 years later, 6 years later. There's, of course, and we all have that social anxiety, especially after 2 years of not interacting, right? Of showing up. And I can just notice that now. I don't resist it, right? Oh yeah, you're nervous going into this gathering. And that can come with me. And so does my heart. And I can soften when I find somebody to have a heart-centered conversation with, right? That we can just soften the body, which softens all the nerves and some of the belief systems that are running rapid, right? And so much of it's just a reconditioning, right? So this work from Byron Katie is just really asking yourself, is this true? Is it true that I'm going to have no friends when I give up drinking? Is that true? Oh no, because my friend Sally quit drinking, right? She quit drinking, and this one quit drinking, and that one's sober, and I really want to get to know her a little bit more, right? So when I could set that limited belief aside and challenge it and say, is it true? I can get to the other side, which are more potent thoughts, more high vibrational thoughts, more of what I'm looking to create in my life, higher vibrational friends that do not just circle around drinking, or whatever the limiting belief is, right? Of, I'm never going to get promoted, to I'm on my way to get promoted, right? And you just start changing your thoughts, which change the feelings in your body, which change the magnetic field around you. And again, just start playing with it and start seeing what happens, right? That bully boss might get fired. The perfect opportunity just lands in your lap. You meet this person at the coffee shop. It's really, really fun to start playing with it. And again, can really help from this quitting standpoint of when you quit the limiting beliefs, you start quitting some of the self-destructive behaviors that are taking you down and keeping you stuck. So I hope you keep showing up here with me to keep playing. Again, continuing with that hand on the heart, the hand on the belly. I will keep sharing more practices, but I want to keep it simple. Again, just quieting the mind or observing the mind and then calling it out. Calling out that little bully in the head of, that's not true. That's not true. This is not the end of the world. Let me stop with this one thought. Let me feel the feelings that arise with it, right? Because again, what we resist persists. So if we just stuff them down, they build, right? Until they're in an anxiety attack or it's full-blown depression. So it's important to feel the feelings as they come, whether you're just writing them out, whether you express them in the car, but give them some room to breathe. And then ask yourself, is this true? Is this all true? Is this rabbit hole that I have gone down, does it really exist? Or am I still really just sitting here in this beautiful pasture? So please connect with me on Facebook, Sarah, no H, S-A-R-A, Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N, Quitting Coach on Facebook, The Quitting Coach on Instagram. And I'll continue to share ways to connect with me. I do offer coaching packages for anyone who wants to take this work deeper. You can reach out for me in those ways, and I'll keep sharing in the comments. Anything you want to hear about more deeply, please subscribe, please share with friends if you're getting anything out of this with these tips and tools of starting to just coming back home to yourself, your highest self, your truest self, by quitting what they call in AA stinking thinking. It can really be life-changing. I'll leave you with the Dyer quote that says, when we change the way we look at things, the things that we look at change, right? Well, shift in perspective can just change your whole world. And I'm living, breathing proof. I'll see you next week.